The wait for the biggest tournament on the planet is finally over. At long last, we get to see the biggest players on the globe slug it out for the most coveted piece of silverware in the footballing universe. But while we'll be seeing some of the biggest names in football out in Qatar, there are still quite a number of these superstars who won't be there. And with all teams having dropped their final lineups, we now know for sure who didn't get on the plane to Qatar this November. Here are the biggest players missing from the 2022 World Cup. Number 1. Erling Haaland. Surely one of the biggest names in world football right now, Erling Haaland, will be missing from the World Cup in Qatar. He represents the Norway national team who failed to qualify this time around. And the truth is, this might not be the only tournament he'll be missing out on, because Norway are not regulars at the World Cup at all. They've qualified for the World Cup only 3 times in their history and never in the 21st century. But then, if anybody can carry a country to the World Cup, surely it's Erling Haaland, and he'll have the help of the likes of Martin Odegaard, so let's see how 2026 goes. Number 2. Sergio Ramos. The legendary Spain centre-back was denied the opportunity to say farewell to the World Cup in grand style by Spain's boss Luis Enrique. When Ramos led Spain to the World Cup in 2018, he surely didn't think it was going to be his last one. He was just 32 after all, but with Enrique leaving him out of the squad for Qatar, it only means one thing: Ramos played his last World Cup game in Russia against Russia. It could also mean that he's done with international football completely. Another person who is almost surely done with international football at this point is number 3, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Ibrahimovic initially retired from international football after Euro 2016. At that point he was 35, so it indeed felt like the end. But then it's Zlatan we're talking about here, so is it ever the end? He came out of retirement in 2021 to join Sweden in their World Cup qualifying campaign. He assisted a couple of goals in the qualifiers, but they just weren't enough. Sweden ended up losing their World Cup ticket to Poland, so we won't be seeing Zlatan in another World Cup. And we know we just asked if it's ever the end with Zlatan, but surely this has to be the end of the World Cup road for the Milan striker. He just can't possibly be gearing up for a World Cup tournament at the age of 45, or can he? Number 4. Mo Salah. The Egyptian king is another big name missing from the World Cup roster this year, and this may be one of the reasons Mo Salah will never see eye to eye with his former teammate Sadio Mane. Just over a month after Salah's Egypt lost the AFCON final to Mane's Senegal on penalties, they went ahead to lose the World Cup qualification to the same team on penalties. It must have hurt really bad back then, but surely Salah will be hoping to avoid Mane and Senegal in the build-up to 2026. Number 5. David De Gea. It's no surprise that De Gea is not Luis Enrique's favourite keeper, and as it appears, he's not even in the top 5. The Spain boss initially released a provisional list for Qatar which had 5 goalkeepers named, but the Man United goalie wasn't one of those 5. So even before the final squad list dropped a few days back, De Gea already knew he wouldn't be travelling to Qatar with the national team. The former Barca manager favours goalies who are good with the ball at their feet, and you can say that that's what cost Man United's number 1 a spot on the plane. We're pretty sure many Man United fans will say their goalkeeper is being treated unfairly, but what do you think about David De Gea not being called up? Number 6. Paul Pogba. Pogba picked up an injury shortly after his move to Juventus was finalised in the summer, and he's been out of action ever since. Because of that injury, he was left out of France's squad and will not be joining Les Bleus to defend the World Cup in Qatar. And unfortunately for the French, he is not the only one they'll be missing in that midfield. Number 7. N'Golo Kante. The pair of Kante and Pogba were more than instrumental to France's World Cup success in 2018, but this time around they'll have to find a way to achieve success without the pair, as injuries have made it impossible for them to join the team in Qatar this year. Will the next gen of French midfielders be able to do it without the guidance of the OGs? Big ask, but we'll just have to wait and find out. Number 8. Reece James. This one really hurts, doesn't it? Reece James is fast establishing himself as the best right back in the world, and we were all excited to see what he could offer on the biggest stage of all. But thanks to a knee injury, which he sustained in Chelsea's Champions League group game against Milan, he was immediately ruled out of the 2022 World Cup. Weeks later, his fullback partner at Chelsea, Ben Chilwell, followed suit. Chelsea have been suffering as a result of their absences. Will England suffer too? Number 9. David Alaba. We will not be seeing the 3-time Champions League winner and one of the most versatile defenders of the outgoing generation at the World Cup. Alaba was unable to lead Austria to the 2022 World Cup, and that means that the Real Madrid man will most likely be ending his career without ever having played a single World Cup game. Right now he's 30 and he might try one more time, but Austria have not qualified for the World Cup since 1998, and to be honest, 2026 doesn't seem very likely either. But who's to say, right? Number 10. Timo Werner. Werner missed a big chance to go to the World Cup as Germany's main striker, no pun intended. His ankle injury just came at the wrong time, only a couple of weeks away from the kickoff of the World Cup. So Turbo Timo quickly went from being a surefire pick for Hansi Flick to sitting out the entire tournament. Bad luck, Timo. Anyway, these are just 10 superstar players who are missing the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, but there are many, many more names. Mahrez, Tony, Aubameyang, Kessié, Sancho, Osimhen, Luis Diaz, Jorginho, Donnarumma. Get in the comments and keep the list going. Who's your favourite player who's not going to Qatar this time around? While you drop names in the comments, make sure to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel as well. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.